Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady and our story for today. It's okay, lady. Follow me. I don't know what it is about me, but pretty regularly I'll be treated as if I work at whatever store I'm at. No idea why. I normally have a pretty unkempt look about me. I rarely shave, and I'm normally sporting a messy beard. I don't own a comb, so same story with my hair. And since I work at a hospital and change my shirt, I normally wear a rubbish button-up shirt and hospital cargo pants. Most people have been that standard apologetic, "Oh, sorry, I thought you worked here," looking appropriately embarrassed to the point I typically feel sorry for them, so that if I can help them, I normally will, regardless. Anyway, that kinda leads me to the following situation. I walked into a Kmart or Target, I don't know, it was a few months ago, I can't remember the store itself since I don't go there that often. It was in a shopping center or a mall if you're from the United States. As I walked in, an elderly lady at the front greeting everyone as they enter and checking bags when they leave was in a not quite yet heated discussion with a lady and her son. I overheard that the lady with the child wanted directions to some toy and wanted the employee to take her there. The employee gave directions that it was back in the corner of the store near the electronics section. I knew the area, and the employee was saying that she couldn't leave her position, but that any other employee could show her the way. The lady was getting more and more annoyed, and since I was sympathetic to the employee having dealt with such people in other jobs I've had, I offered to let the mother follow me since I was already heading that way. She starts following me, and as we pass the cash registers at the front, she basically orders me in one of the most entitled voices I've ever heard, "Wait a bloody second, I need to get a shopping trolley." Effing millennials these days. I was born in the 80s, but decided to just let it slide. And I waited while she pulled out 3 or 4 trolleys and inspected them before picking one that met her criteria. In hindsight, I think she was looking for one that might have had a dodgy wheel lock. She looked like the type of person that didn't have a car. Anyway, I waited and started to regret my decision to escort her. When she got back, I started leading the way again. It wasn't a few meters until she once again yelled for me to stop as she wanted to look at things on the shelves. The first time I waited, getting even more impatient myself. Once she'd browsed and rejoined a few moments later, I started leading her again, only to be stopped again. By this point, I'd had enough of her and just wanted to get my own shopping done, so basically pointed in the direction she'd have to go and said it's not far and started leaving. I hear her grumbling under her breath before she chased after me, shopping trolley rattling after me. She starts going off about how kids these days are so rude and impatient. I couldn't care less about her at this point, and since we're close enough to see the toy area that the lady at the front had indicated, I basically pointed in the area and said, "Look, lady, it's over there. I'm done with you. I have my own stuff to do." I turn and leave, as she's telling a story about kids and disrespect, etc. I don't care. I was off. Now, like I said before, the electronics section was right next to the toy section, so the lady basically followed me the rest of the way, regardless, her trolley rattling the whole time. But as far as I was concerned, I was done with her and didn't check to see if she got there. But her shopping cart stopped at around the same place, so I assumed she had. I then went to the electronics section to buy my stuff. When I was at the electronics counter, it's in the electronics section, not far from the front of the store for some reason, I hear some yelling going on and coming closer to me. I turn, and to my surprise, it's the lady, almost dragging her son behind her. She's yelling for the manager about how badly ran the store is, staff lying to her and all this nonsense. The guy at the counter tries to calm her down and deal with it himself, but in the end gives up and phones for his manager. The lady turns her attention to me and starts yelling about how I lied and was useless and was going to call the police and so forth. At this point, I should have just walked away and left the guy to deal with it. As much as I hate to admit dumping her on him, I was about to. Before just having turned to leave, she grabs my arm and starts shoving her finger in my face and yelling obscenities. I have some self-defense training, and my immediate reflex working in a hospital with mentally ill patients, dementia, and drug and alcohol clinics, so we get a lot of situations where patients react violently, often with little warning, is to sweep my arm to get her off me. The action either surprised her enough or had a lot more force than I expected, but regardless, she falls backwards into a display. This isn't as dramatic as that sentence makes it sound. It's more one of those shelf displays these type of areas have. She didn't even initially fall over completely. I think she only knocked a few items onto the floor. A few seconds later, she basically lays down on the floor and starts rolling around on the ground, screaming loudly, "Ow! Ow! Ow!" Now at this point, a few other staff and customers have been watching, and to the staff's credit, a few came out and asked if she was okay and tried to help her up. But she wasn't having any of it and just kept crying like a child. Her own, I think, had actually wandered off before this and was looking at games or something. I don't recall seeing him until the end. Now, having worked at a hospital, you get pretty good at identifying people faking pain, but realistically, I doubt you even need that experience to know she was exaggerating tremendously. After a few more seconds that felt much longer, staff pretty much gave up trying to help her, with half looking around awkwardly not knowing what to do and the other half picking up the few dropped items. I was again about to leave when the manager arrived. I don't know why I stayed until this point. I assume it was some obligation to defend my name that no one here knew. But I did answer the manager straight away, spot the lady, and try to help her up, asking what's going on and if she's okay. She almost immediately drops the pain act and starts pointing at me, saying how I'd lied to her and was useless, had insulted her and robbed her. Not sure where that one came from, but that surprised the hell out of me. And how she was going to sue the store, me, the manager, and anyone else that looked at her, I assume. The manager takes a look at me and seems puzzled. Since he can't get her to calm down, he asks what was going on to the staff at the electronics counter. He looks as confused, basically says what he saw. The lady ran up shouting, grabbed the customer, me, pushed her off him, then she fell into a display, then laid down on the floor. The manager then asked me, and I explained the whole story. As I was retelling the story, it started to click for both of us that she must have thought I worked there, despite not wearing anything close to the store uniform. He tries again to calm the situation down, which to his credit he kind of does. She's only swearing every few seconds as she continues to berate everyone she can, while still demanding the police arrest me and the store fire me, despite everyone telling her repeatedly that I don't work there. The manager, seeing talking to her isn't going to go anywhere, asks if I could wait while he checks the security cameras to check the story. As he goes off, the lady's still yelling a storm at me and everyone else she can about youth these days, despite the electronics counter guy telling the lady he's likely older than her and has 2 kids in high school. Anyway, halfway through, the police arrive. Apparently someone else had called them, or they'd been in the area. They arrive, the lady jumps down their throat and starts going off about everything again. After a few minutes of talking to her, me and the staff, they get a bit of a picture that she's crazy. The manager comes back, says he's seen the videos, which show her basically assaulting me when she grabbed me, and that I was just defending myself from her sudden actions. When the lady hears this, she once again starts going on about how I lied to her. Apparently, I told her I worked there and that some toy was in stock. Despite none of this happening, the manager mentions that they no longer sell that item. It was sold out before Christmas. It's now the police's turn to state that I don't work there and don't even look like I do. The lady starts yelling at the police, wanting their badge numbers and how she's going to sue them, etc., before they more or less tell her if she doesn't shut up, they'll escort her out of the building. They ask if I want to press charges since she assaulted me technically. Not me, her. Like she continued to scream. At this point, I just wanted out and to go home, so I said no, despite kind of wanting to. They let me go, manager apologized, 1 or 2 of the staff laughed about the whole situation, got a handshake from the electronics guy, he was pretty cool about the whole thing. The police pretty much ordered the lady to leave or they would take her back to the station if she kept causing trouble. I gather from what they said up to this point, I wasn't really listening well enough to even roughly quote, that when they looked her up, they must have found a history of this woman causing issues like this. Anyways, the woman left, still muttering under her breath. She grabs her trolley and starts calling her kid's name. It was something easy to shout like John or Matt, but I can't remember it. I'm walking the other way, so I don't see what happens, but I hear a crash and then some crying, before turning around to see the mother had crashed her cart into her child. I assume he'd walked around the shelves and ran out to where his mother was, and of course she starts off again yelling about how she was going to sue the store for a dodgy shopping cart. I just left, feeling sorry for the kid. He seemed like a good kid, pretty shy and quiet, hope he was okay. I want to say I'll never help someone like that out again, but I probably will. Is there a male version of Karen? I think I encountered the male equivalent of Karen. I was at a bank today, in a waiting lobby, waiting to speak with a mortgage lender. Though I don't work at this bank, I do work in the financial sector. Because of my job, I wear a suit and tie. He, male Karen, approached me while I'm sitting in the waiting room. He must have assumed that I was an employee of the bank and started asking me about opening a savings account, in which I replied, "Sir, I do not work here." He lost his mind and started raising his voice and demanding to speak to the manager. The worst part is that his grandchildren, I presume, were present when their old cranky grandfather started to throw a temper tantrum in the bank. I could tell the grandchildren were embarrassed. One of the ladies behind the counter then moved in his direction to attempt to handle the situation, but he became even louder and more immature when she asked if she could help him. "This jerk told me he's not going to help me, and now I'm going to take my business somewhere else." Her response, "Sir, me, does not work here." His response, "Well then who does?" Her, "I do." Him, "I want to speak to the manager." I couldn't contain myself, I was laughing so loudly. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more videos, click here. If you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It's very important to me. We'll see you soon.